Edward Fairfax Rochester, the enigmatic master of Thornfield Hall, stands as one of the most complex and compelling figures in Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. Both brooding and passionate, morally flawed yet emotionally profound, Rochester serves as the primary love interest and moral foil to Jane. His character defies the conventions of the Victorian romantic hero, blending vulnerability with dominance and mystery with candor. As the novel progresses, Rochester becomes the embodiment of themes like redemption, moral ambiguity, and the search for equality in love. His narrative arc, ranging from concealed sin to personal suffering and eventual renewal, mirrors the spiritual and emotional journeys that define Bronte's masterpiece. Role in the narrative. Rochester enters the novel midway through, marking a significant shift in its tone and direction. Until then, Jane Eyre charts Jane's personal growth from a neglected orphan into a morally upright, self-aware young woman. Rochester's arrival signals her first deep encounter with love, power, and moral testing. As a master of Thornfield Hall, Rochester is Jane's employer and social superior. Their relationship begins with unease and grows into mutual fascination and eventually love. However, their romance is soon complicated by Rochester's dark past, namely his secret marriage to Bertha Mason, a woman he keeps locked in the attic due to her insanity. This secret shatters Jane's hopes for marriage and forces her to confront a painful moral dilemma: to stay with the man she loves and compromise her values, or to leave and preserve her integrity. Rochester's function in the narrative is twofold. He is both the object of Jane's affection and the agent of her moral trial. His initial offer of bigamy challenges Jane's convictions, and her decision to flee Thornfield marks a significant turning point in her moral development. When they are reunited at the novel's end, after Rochester has lost his sight and Bertha has died, Jane returns on equal footing, financially and emotionally. Their eventual union is thus a testament to mutual growth and restored balance. Symbolic significance. Rochester is often read symbolically as a Byronic hero, a literary archetype defined by brooding introspection, a troubled past, and passionate intensity. Former sins haunt Rochester, who carries emotional scars and struggles with desires that conflict with social norms and moral codes. However, Rochester also symbolizes the conflicted nature of Victorian masculinity. He is caught between roles: the powerful landowner and the emotionally needy man, the rational Victorian gentleman, and the passionate romantic rebel. His desire to transcend societal constraints by pursuing happiness with Jane despite his existing marriage reflects both the strength and danger of unchecked emotion. Brontë uses his character to critique the moral hypocrisy of a society that allows men latitude while binding women to rigid codes of propriety. Moreover, Rochester's transformation, culminating in physical injury, blindness, and eventual humility, can be read as symbolic atonement. Stripped of his power and pride, he becomes a figure of redemption. His disabilities at the end of the novel externalize the emotional and moral wounds he has carried. Only when Rochester loses the very advantages that once gave him dominance, sight, wealth, autonomy, can he enter into a relationship with Jane as an equal. This symbolic leveling reflects one of the novel's central ideals. Love must be built on moral equality and mutual respect. Broader implications. The tension between love and moral integrity is perhaps the most critical thematic conflict Rochester embodies. His love for Jane is genuine and deep, yet after Bertha's revelation, he asks her to violate her conscience by becoming his mistress. Jane's refusal, though painful, reinforces Bronte's moral message. True love must not come at the cost of self-respect or ethical compromise. Rochester's willingness to circumvent moral law by hiding his wife and proposing bigamy highlights the gendered double standards of Victorian society, which often excuse men for behavior that would ruin women. Jane's insistence on moral clarity and self-worth forces Rochester to reckon with his actions and ultimately leads to his redemption. Rochester's character is also tied to the theme of entrapment, both literal and metaphorical. While Bertha Mason is the most obvious figure of physical confinement, Rochester is spiritually and emotionally imprisoned by his past mistakes, including his disastrous marriage. His brooding persona is a product of his frustration and guilt, and his attempts to escape, by traveling, seeking distraction, and eventually falling for Jane, are all efforts to find liberation. Jane, too, is constrained by class, gender, and morality, but unlike Rochester, she chooses freedom through moral clarity rather than evasion. In the end, it is Rochester's suffering, not his rebellion, that liberates him. Brontë suggests that true freedom comes not from denying one's obligations, but from facing them honestly and accepting the consequences. The relationship between Rochester and Jane serves as a case study of shifting power dynamics. Initially, Rochester holds all the power. He is older, wealthier, and Jane's employer. Their courtship often reflects this imbalance. He tests her, deceives her, and sometimes manipulates her emotions. However, Jane refuses to become subordinate. She challenges Rochester, speaks with honesty and intelligence, and ultimately walks away when he fails her morally. When Jane returns, financially independent after inheriting her uncle's fortune, and Rochester has been physically humbled, their reunion marks the restoration of equality. Brontë uses this rebalancing to critique the patriarchal model of marriage and advocate for partnerships based on mutual respect, not domination. One of the reasons Rochester remains such an enduring literary figure is his moral complexity. He is not idealized or demonized. He is flawed, at times selfish, proud, and morally questionable, but he is also introspective, passionate, and capable of growth. His humanity is what makes him relatable and realistic. Brontë avoids presenting him as a mere romantic fantasy. Instead, he is a man forged by pain and capable of change. Through Rochester, Brontë explores the idea that redemption is possible, not through divine intervention or social status, but through personal reckoning and love that respects the dignity of the other. His journey from arrogance to humility, from secrecy to openness, mirrors the emotional evolution of the novel itself, from repression to freedom and from illusion to truth. Conclusion. Edward Rochester stands as one of the most nuanced and transformative figures in Jane Eyre. He functions as both a romantic partner and a moral test, a symbol of flawed humanity and potential redemption. His relationship with Jane is not just a love story. It is an ethical and philosophical journey that challenges Victorian norms surrounding marriage, gender, and class. Through Rochester's fall and eventual rise, Brontë conveys a profound message: that love, to be true and enduring, must be built on mutual respect, moral integrity, and the courage to confront one's past. Far from a simple romantic hero, Rochester is a mirror of Jane's growth and a testament to the novel's enduring power.